Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that's, well, it's a real paradox. We're looking at a situation in Nigeria where a government policy designed to make the country safer and more modern might actually be making a terrifying crime problem even worse. And that's the big question, right? It's the mystery we're unpacking today. How on earth can a big push for a cashless society, something that's supposed to help security, accidentally roll out the red carpet for kidnappers to collect the ransoms? It just doesn't seem to make sense.
And look, the stakes here, they couldn't be higher. In 2024 alone, people in Nigeria have paid over 2.5 billion naira in ransoms. We're talking millions and millions of dollars. So this isn't some abstract policy debate. It's a massive crisis that's affecting thousands of real people.
All right, so let's dig into this. We're starting with the policy's paradox, this strange situation where a plan that started with really good intentions seems to have backfired in a really dangerous way. So the whole thing started with the Nigerian government, and specifically its central bank, really pushing this idea of a cashless economy. The thinking was, let's get people to move their money away from physical cash and start using digital platforms for everything. So why did this in the first place? What was the big idea behind going cashless? Well, the government laid out some very clear goals. And on paper, the plan looks fantastic. The official aims were, 1, to make it way harder for corrupt officials to hide their dirty money. 2, to track terrorist financing and boost national security. And 3, to just modernize the whole economy. Sounds great, doesn't it? All very admirable goals. But this is where the story takes a really sharp turn. The main goal was to enhance security. But the reality on the ground? A terrifying spike in kidnappings for ransom. So, what on earth went wrong? And that gets us to the heart of the matter, what we're calling the ransom gateway. We're going to break down the exact loophole criminals have found to exploit this new system. Now, to get this loophole, you first have to know about point-of-sale operators, or POS operators. Because actual banks can be hard to find, especially outside the big cities, these guys are everywhere. They act like little mini ATMs on street corners, and they become absolutely essential for daily life in Nigeria. Okay, so this slide shows you the new criminal payment system. Let's walk through it. Step 1, kidnappers demand a ransom, and they want it in untraceable cash. Step 2, the desperate families can't just go to a bank and pull out that much cash because of the government's limits. So they go to these POS operators instead. And here's the kicker. Step 3, these operators aren't as regulated. They can pull money from different sources to get the huge sums of cash needed. That cash then gets delivered to the kidnappers, and the whole transaction happens completely outside the formal banking system with zero security check. So, what does this all add up to? Let's talk about the real, devastating cost of this crime wave when you look at the big picture. Just look at these numbers. They're just mind-boggling. In 2024, kidnappers demanded a staggering 48 billion naira. Now, only 2.56 billion was actually paid, but that still shows you the incredible pressure these families are under. It's become a multi-million-dollar industry basically built on a systemic loophole. So, with a criminal industry this huge, you have to ask, how do you stop it? What can actually be done? Well, let's look at what the experts, specifically Nigeria's National Counter Terrorism Centre, are saying needs to happen to close this loophole. The solutions really focus on tightening up the system. First, bring in much stricter Know Your Customer, or KYC rules for all these POS agents so they can't operate anonymously. Of course, that's tough in a country where lots of people don't have formal ID. Second, there needs to be way more oversight of the transactions they're doing. And finally, you have to make the legal digital payment options better, safer, and easier for everyone to use. And the Counter Terrorism Centre didn't mince words. They basically sent a blunt warning, saying if the central bank can't lower the amount of cash people can withdraw, it absolutely should not raise it, because doing that would just be pouring fuel on the fire of both corruption and kidnapping. And all of this, it boils down to one really tough balancing act for the people in charge. It's a classic case of security versus the economy. This table really lays out the dilemma they're facing. On the one hand, the central bank is actually planning to increase the cash withdrawal limit. That could be great for the economy, especially for all the small businesses that run on cash. But we've just seen how that would make it even easier for kidnappers to get paid. On the other hand, if they keep the limits low, it might choke off some of that criminal cash flow, but it could also slow down legitimate business. There's just no easy answer. And that's really the question we're left with.
How does a country find the right balance between giving its people the economic freedom they need to thrive and the absolute necessity of cutting off the money that fuels crime and terrorism? It's a huge challenge Nigeria is facing right now, and honestly, it's one that has lessons for all of us.